everybody, and welcome back to the channel. If you have not already, please click the subscribe button below. As a reminder, my channel is meant to help others, and I'm really excited to announce that I will be promoting the Toys for Tots here in Madison, Wisconsin, my hometown. If you want to donate to Toys for Tots, please see the link in the description below. Anyway, today we have K-2SO from the 3.75-inch Star Wars Vintage Collection. Why don't we go ahead and take him out of the box and let him stretch his legs? Alright, well let's go ahead and start with K2's weapon here. This is the blaster that was given to him by K-2SO in Rogue One reluctantly, giving her mistrust. But anyway, the blaster looks pretty good. I mean, it straight up looks like it did from the film. I think that for the size of this weapon, I'm pretty impressed with the overall sculpt of it. It has a really good resemblance of the actual blaster that Jin used, and subsequently he used. Good job, Hasbro. Okay, so let's go ahead and put this blaster down and move on to the main event, K2 himself. Okay, here's K-2SO, and he's pretty tall for a 3.75-inch figure. His head sculpt is spot on. It looks like it's made out of metal, and same is true for the rest of his body. You can even see some of the smaller details with his eyes and his mouth. Now, they're not exactly the same color, or they don't give off quite that same sort of sheen from the movie. But regardless, they use this silver paint, and I really do appreciate that silver paint. Looking on the back of his head, though, you can see it's pretty uniform. There aren't too many scratches. It is pretty well shaped. He has a little bit of detail underneath his chin and along his neck as well. And I definitely do appreciate that. They definitely tried to make this as movie-like as they could. Even moving on to his chest down there in the center, you can see that there's quite a bit of weathering. I mean, he did have a few tussles here and there. Anyway, moving on to the shoulders, he's got those emblems. The emblems look great. They have a little bit of metallic paint with them. Definitely a good job there. If you look a little bit closely, actually, to the deeper section of his shoulders, you can see the nice little yellow rings there, and I think that's a great touch. I was really hoping that they would include this with the figure because it adds a little bit of vibrance, and it's also just something that you see from the film, and it makes that character a little bit more unique. So far, I'm super impressed with this figure, but I think right now is a good time to move on to the articulation. Okay, so starting with his elbows, it looks like if you press really hard, you can get him to bend to about 90 degrees on both sides, which is nice, but be careful, you do have to push pretty hard. And he is a little flimsy, so just keep that in mind. His shoulders, however, they don't really move out, at all. Kind of a disappointment, not really that big of a deal. It would be nice to have him raise his shoulders, but unfortunately that just won't happen. But you take what you can get. Oh well. Fortunately, though, he is quite mobile with the remainder of the shoulder joint. He is able to swing all the way around on both sides quite easily, which is always nice. Moving on to his torso. Ooh, holy crap. He is real flexible, which kind of makes sense. He's a robot. I mean, look at his hips and his waist and oh my god, he can do the splits oh boy. Yeah, I gotta, work on my splits myself. Anyway, I think that our K-2SO is doing a wonderful job entertaining us with his hip joints. Moving forward, he does have some wonderful weathering along his hip. You can see here there's a little bit of brown weather speck, and in addition to that, there's a little bit of silverish sort of paint all around his hip, front, side, and back, both sides, and they look great. Honestly, they're even on the back of his knees, on the sides of his knees, a little bit in the front maybe. Overall, though, that with the articulation to 90 degrees, absolutely lovely lower body there. Clearly you hit the gym there, but no, seriously. If we look closer at his ankles, be careful. His ankles will bend if you try to articulate those ankle joints a little too much. So I highly recommend that you bend these joints, the ankle joints, with caution. Specifically by pinching onto the sides of the joint, you might be able to spare some of the sort of tension that you can create and prevent a lot of unnecessary bending. That's just my little tidbit. Hopefully you don't snap his ankles off. Anyway, that's it for K2, so why don't we wrap up with some final impressions. Okay, so that is K-2SO, and he is excellent. I will definitely be happy to introduce him to my collection, and I hope you do too. He stands tall compared to the 3.75-inch figures, looking great whether or not you want to hold him with that blaster. Either way, you put him in an awkward pose, you keep him in the box, you cannot go wrong with this guy. Highly recommend that you pick him up, and make sure that you give him the attention that he deserves. Well, folks, that's it for now. Please hit the like button if you enjoyed this content, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you want to continue to see some more. Until next time, I'll see you in the future.